free to introduce yourself.
Hey, good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, whenever you'll see this. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting Craig in his phenomenal platform of what he's doing with mental health. It's been a journey. It's been a great journey. So stay tuned. There's a lot of great things that'll actually be happening.
Yes, yes. Speaking of great things been happening, it's a new year pretty much, and 2020 has been a hell of a year, and this is the new year to start over, start a new journey. And how's your mindset going to the new year?
Good question. Far as mental health is concerned, we have a lot of work that we have to do. I've seen a lot of great positive stuff happen, but I've also seen that we have a lot of work. Dude, I'm not just talking about Black men, I'm talking about people in general.
Yeah.
There is definitely a lot of work that needs to be done, but I'm hopeful and prayerful that things are and they will get better.
Yeah, I can definitely agree to that, because even as we, launching our platforms for us mental health, people are still dying. And unfortunately, people are still taking their lives. And I realize, and I'm sure you do too, that this is global,
Right. And to me, it's not even, granted, people are dying, which is tragic across the board. But just to see people's emotions, they're reaching for help, but they don't know how to ask for help. And what I've kind of seen is that people are struggling and they don't even realize that the man right next to them is struggling also, because they're trying to figure out how they can actually survive day to day. So that's what I say. It's a lot of work that we definitely have to do as people. And one person can't do it. I mean, so I always say, it takes a village.
Agreed.
And mental health definitely needs a village of strong soldiers, be it men or women.
Agreed. I can definitely agree to that. This goes into my first question. Like, a lot of men are carrying a lot of weight on their shoulders. A lot of men are hiding behind their emotions and frustrated, got those thoughts of suicide, thoughts of feeling like you can't be here. What advice do you give to a man who's afraid to speak out, who's afraid to show his emotions?
Brothers, we have to get off that macho mess that we do day to day. You being so macho is actually killing us.
Great.
Speak. Or if you're afraid to get help, don't tell anybody. Just go out and find those resources. And they're out there. They are definitely out there, but we have to be able to speak up. I'm seeing it more and more daily. Even when you're doing something or I'm doing something, people leave those subliminal messages, where they are reaching out, but they don't know how to reach out. And we see it, and it's okay. Hey, I need help. Like I said, quit being so freaking macho all the goddamn time. If you want to man up, and let's talk about our issues so we can actually address them, so we don't actually bring them into the next generation. That whole generational curse is real.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it's real based off conversation is weird that I had last night with some of my boys. They want to have a kid, but one of the things he said was, before we start having kids, him and his wife, he needs to go to counseling. Now, mind you, we've been talking about this for 2 months, and I'm like, bro, you still ain't gone to counseling. So where's the misconception? Where are you dropping the ball at? And come to find out, he's just scared. And I'm like, come on, man. You're talking about it, but you just go ahead. That first step, take it from me. I was one of them too. That first step, once you do that first step, it becomes easier and easier as you go.
I can definitely agree, especially on the part where people are sending like subliminal messages, and you can read through a person's Facebook, a person's Instagram. Because I done it in the past 2 years ago, when you're saying like, I feel like I want to give up, or you may saying I don't want to be here, or certain things. You can actually read through the lines, and sometimes I feel like us as men, we're scared to ask for help, but kind of like we're just throwing it out there.
Right.
And it just, we both been through that same problem. It is I mean, for myself also, I've been thinking about going to therapy for certain things that happened in my past before I have children. Like when we talk about passing on generational wealth, it's also involved mental health.
Right.
So that
Most
way
definitely.
we're breaking generational curses as far as mental health instead of passing on that negative statement.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
I always say, if you're gonna man up and do what a man needs to do, go seek help. You know, that's where I'm at with it now.
agreed, agreed. I definitely just commend you on just doing your platform. And this goes back to my next question. Have you ever faced anything far as like depression, suicide, or anything like that? Feel free to share your story with the audience.
Um, yeah, I mean, real talk, most definitely.
Hmm.
Um, Suicide, a couple of years ago. Um, Depression, it goes up and down, and depression can be caused from any type of thing that may be happening in your life. So that's real for me. Suicide was maybe a year or so ago, but it was dealing with the whole when I had cancer, anxiety, feeling by myself, feeling it was just going to be easier to just kind of just get rid of the whole situation, which was including me. It is weird that we had this conversation, and I'll tell the story. Um, I'm surrounded by a whole lot of police officers,
Hmm.
friends of some sort. And last year, one of my boys was here, police officer. And I'm very particular. Like, don't come in the house with your gun. You're really in a safe place. My house.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, he came in the house with his gun, and that's fine. That's here nor there. But he put the gun down on the table, and I thought about, wow, what if I take this gun and just shoot myself?
Hmm.
And I said, wow, and I don't even know where that came from.
Hmm.
you know. But I had to snap out of it real quick. But I was like, yo, something that clearly wasn't who I was. And I don't even know what I was dealing with at the time, or probably the thoughts when I was having suicidal thoughts back in the day. I was going to do the punk way, take pills, and just kind of go to sleep.
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
Right. So when I looked at the gun, I said, well, this is the easy way. It's quick, fast, and to the point. But then I realized if I do that, then I also put him in a situation that he shouldn't even be in as well. But I snapped out of it. But I was like, yo, I don't know what's going on. And I had to speak to my counselor about that. And he said it can just be different levels of how you're dealing with a certain issue at the time. And I was like, wow,
Wow.
yeah. But yeah, the depression piece, I mean, I think that's real for everybody if we're going to be honest.
Hmm.
If somebody says that they never got depressed, I'm like, you're not human.
Yeah.
Blood's not flowing through your body. So, depression can be, from this COVID being in this house, not having the same life that I used to have with just hanging out. I mean, it varies, but it's not to a point where I'm just clearly like putting myself down anymore. And I can kind of share how I actually got out of that as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to certain things, bro. Like you feel like you had those like those racing thoughts or something
Yep.
negative. It's like, what if I do this to myself? Or, you know, like that was me like taking the punk way out in the sense of doing pills, or
Right.
even like the stuff like, what if I jump from the drain? And it's crazy. Like you had those thoughts and you're so wrapped up in your own thinking instead of reaching out for help.
Right.
So my next question is,
Yep.
what moments do you feel like where you feel like you started to like come out of that depression mode and start to like walk forward in your journey?
Okay, real talk. You're the first. This is the first time everybody's ever going to actually hear this.
Okay.
Only person that knows this is my counselor.
Okay.
He knows that I've been doing talks about mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
All right, real talk. I realized I needed therapy from doing that. I wasn't doing therapy.
Okay.
I wasn't doing therapy. In my mind, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and I'm can be the strong one. But behind the scenes, I was going into almost a mental meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
Either preparing for the show or after the show. And I was like, yo, I need help badly. So I told one of my friends who's actually a psychiatrist, but conflict of interest, she can't work with me, but we're still good friends. I'm like, yo, I gotta find me a counselor. So it's kind of like me shopping for a pair of Nikes. I shopped around.
Yeah.
The weird part is when I was doing it, it was a 6-week backlog or it was a 2-month backlog. Come to find out, a lot of people were seeking help because of the whole COVID, the pandemic, and everything else. And I was like, if anybody knows, I'm like, no, this is unacceptable. You know, I'm dealing with something right now and I need help. And I reached out to one of my homegirls. She works for the VA. She's like, no, bro, you're a veteran. You know, we're going to get you help right now. And 2 days later, that's when I actually started counseling. And it's been great. And I actually do it weekly. And my counselor, I'll give him a plug, Dr. Wilder. He always says, Mark, I like working with you because you're talking. And I think I'm doing a lot of talking with the counselor now. I think because for so long, I've held so much in, you know, where I didn't feel comfortable talking to, be it friends, associates, or family, based on how they would judge me, or if they cared or didn't care, or more importantly, sometimes they just don't even know what to say. You know what I'm saying? So him and I talk, and I'm like, yo, bro, I wasn't even trying to talk about that today, you know? But I enjoy it. So that's when I started coming out of it. So just to kind of conclude what you're asking, what changed for me this time was, one was the counselor, and you know that I'm getting ready to work on the new show.
Yeah.
And I'm taking my time with it this time because of certain things that I want to do. So I met one of the guys that's on the show is a professional football player. Okay. His name is, I'll just say B. Cole, but that's not, well, that is his name. He does daily affirmations. And he has something called a gratitude journal that he does every day of why he feels faithful, why he is just glad to be around. Him and I start talking about that. I ordered one. It has changed my life.
Wow.
I get up every day, I'm worthy, and I tell myself, look in the mirror, why am I worthy? You know, why do I love myself? It has made a world of difference for me. So that's actually how I was able to actually start coming out of it, just being more positive. Even where things just kind of go to the left, I always bring it back to something positive as well. And before, it would just take me to a whole nother level. But now I'm at an even tier, which is actually pretty good for me. But it definitely has been a journey, you know, because I suppress stuff like I'm 50. And I have been suppressing stuff since I was 8 years old. So, you know, that's a problem, you know? Yeah. But there's so many men out there like that, you know, who are doing the same thing. And then what I'm looking is, if we're not talking to our children, then they end up doing the same thing.
Agreed.
Yeah. So, yeah. But, you know, it took me 50 years to do it, but I'm glad that I'm actually doing it right now.
I can definitely agree. And I just definitely commend you on that. I'm so glad this platform is out, what we're doing and what you're doing and so many other guys are doing, because in the past, this wasn't out here. You know,
no, it wasn't.
Back then, it was more like, especially when we were children, it was like, you know, how you see a little boy fall on the ground, boom, he falls on his face. Oh, don't you cry. So you already taught those emotions though, don't cry. Don't show emotions. Don't show your feelings. So in your 20s, your 30s, 40s, 50s, or whatever the case may be, you already taught to, I gotta hide my emotions. I gotta hide my feelings. So you're like, it's not okay to talk about something. Like even when I was going through that, I had to do the same thing. It's a couple of friends who I talk to, you know how like you just going through something and you just vent towards them? Man, I'm tired of this, I'm going through this. Sometimes a person may not have the advice to give you, but if they're that listening ear, and they acknowledge that, okay, I hear you. Those key words. I hear what you're saying. I got a friend who's going through it now. I'm like, I got you, bro. Even if we can't figure it out, we'll work on it. It's always a key to be that listening ear, and that's a major factor. You know?
Right. Most definitely. But you got to find that one, or you got to find that group or nucleus that you gel with around this. You have to have, your support system has to really be on point. You know, so that is most definite.
I can definitely agree with the support system. I'm very cautious of who I associate with. I'm very cautious of, I gotta have great men around me. I gotta, in some area, have like, I can be like this in this area, or he can motivate me in this area. It gotta be like that, because having like toxic men around me doesn't work. You know.
Well, I can honestly say I don't have that issue with him anymore. So
same here.
Yeah, I have the ability of letting people go, and it's actually come to find out it was really for my well-being and my mental health.
Yeah,
I didn't know that at the time, but I actually understand it. Everybody is not made for everything.
agreed,
So it is what it is.
agreed. And let's go to like my next question. Like back in the day, the black community, going to therapy was like a negative stigma. Oh, what you going to therapy for? Oh, you crazy. Oh, you going through this. Oh, he's suicidal. Or she's suicidal. What do you say to any black man or black woman or a black child who's actually going through that and they feeling like, or you got that black mother who's like, I'm afraid to take my son to therapy because of the labels that's been put on us as individuals. What advice would you give them towards that?
Well, that's a good question. Fortunately, I'll talk about my close female friends who are raising children,
Hmm.
either together or as an individual. That's an issue that they don't even have. They support therapy.
Hmm.
So that has been a plus. When I hear them talking about they're taking their child to therapy and they're going with them to just address the issue, that's been great. The part where you're talking about the stigma behind it, that's somebody's, and I'm just going to say somebody's ignorance. You
Yeah.
know, that's really what it is. Just plain old. I don't even know how to say anything else but ignorance, and I can say that because I was ignorant at one time,
Same
also.
here. Hmm.
Too. You know what I'm saying? So what I realize is if you're going to therapy, go to therapy. No one even has to know. You know, and I think that's part of the problem. Oh, if I tell somebody, what are they going to say? Don't tell nobody. Remember, you're doing this for you.
Yeah.
Or you're doing it for your children. But more important, before you even do it for your children, you have to do it for you. You
Agreed.
know, so it's really not about who you tell, but we all know when we get to a certain point in our life, we know that who we can tell anything to, and they're not going to judge you. It's the ones that are judging you or the ones who probably need therapy the most.
Agreed.
And I'm saying it, and I mean it.
Hmm.
If you're going to talk about it, you're the one that needs the most, but it's mostly it's based off of ignorance. You know,
I can definitely agree. It's definitely based off ignorance because the same ones that's laughing at you or another person or me hasn't worked on themselves or afraid to take their step, their self-love journey to the next level. So I definitely agree with that.
yeah. But let me finish that.
Okay.
Something just came up. One of my homeboys, the married couple, um, um, he called me in regards to finding a therapist because he knows that I've been doing the whole piece on mental health.
Hmm.
And first question that I asked him is, "Are you talking to your wife about this? Before you come to me, you need to have a conversation with your wife. You understand? This is the person you stood in front of God you love, for better or for worse. So apparently, it must be to a point where you think it's the worst if you're reaching out to me regarding mental." And his response was, "No, I haven't talked to her yet." And I'm like, "Bro, that's where you're wrong, because it starts in your house,
Yeah.
you know. So I say you need to have that conversation with your significant other, uh, and then kind of gauge where y'all want to go from there. She may not want to go, and that's cool. However, have that conversation and do it for you. And come to find out, when he did have that conversation with her, she had been gone for 2 years and didn't tell him.
Wow.
Yeah, because she was like, he's this macho man, this and this and this and this, and he always has an opinion about something. So she was worried about what his opinion was going to be on her going to therapy. But now they're in harmony because now they have the individual therapy and now they're doing couples therapy. And I said, bro, that was an easy communication thing. I said, one person was scared to say something to the other person about mental health therapy. You know, we have to do better.
Agreed. Matter of fact, I was thinking about going therapy
But
myself
we're
as
always
far as
going to
grief.
have this.
As far as
Yeah, yeah,
the grieving process. Grieving with
yeah.
my grandmother and my aunt, and I realized I didn't deal with that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm realizing I need to deal with that. And this is what
Mm.
two years ago. Yeah,
Wow.
it's very important. Very
Yeah,
important.
it is. It is.
So let's go to my next question. Like, as far as the mental health journey, working on yourself, there's a portion called self-love. In your opinion, what's the importance of self-love in your journey?
Doing what's best for me and being an advocate of me. I actually learned that from therapy.
Yes.
I used to be the person who cared about everybody and everything, would go that extra mile just to make somebody else happy. That wasn't good for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I was putting somebody else's feelings and emotions ahead of mine. We can't do that. So now it's, my therapist always says, Mark, you have to advocate for yourself. And that's what I've been doing. But I'm going to be real. It was hard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then two, the weirdest thing is a lot of people didn't like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. Now I'm doing what I need to do for me. And I got my boys mad because I'm not doing what they want to do. It's a weird situation. So I'm like, but then you got to go, because to me, that was being selfish, so now I'm being selfish for Mark, and I actually enjoy it. I mean, do I still care about people? Oh yeah, most definitely. Are there people, I'm going to fight that fight with them? Most definitely.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing that mass thing ever again, because it wasn't good for me. So it's that advocating for myself that I actually had to learn how to do it. Like I say, it was hard in the beginning because I wanted to be that nurturer. I wanted to be, as I call myself, the united way. Just have an open hand for everybody to come in and dump their stuff in. And I'm like, well, damn, who do I go to? And realize I couldn't go to those people. And I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm just done. And it's so weird when you pull yourself back and you start looking at situations and certain people, you actually see the truth. So it's been great. That self-love for me has been wonderful. If I don't want to do it, I'm not going to do it. Before, Craig, I used to just do stuff, but I'm going to go because I don't want them to feel bad. Now I'm like, I ain't going.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it is now.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with it. And I am okay with it.
Yeah. I was thinking about that earlier about like the power of putting you first.
Yep.
And the power of saying no. And not feeling bad about it.
Yep. I don't feel bad. And I do no with no explanation now.
Yeah.
And I'm not rude. I'm not disrespectful. Like somebody, is weird. Advocating for myself. Somebody sent me an invite to do something. Usually I was just like, oh, delete, I ain't gonna go. I just responded, no, I'm not gonna be able to make it. The old Mark would have just deleted it, and kept it moving. I was like, and then I get a phone call, why aren't you coming? And I said, I just don't feel like coming. I don't have an explanation. I'm just not, it is what it is. Respect it, I'm not coming. Yeah.
I realized that too, like with your self-love journey and having to say no kind of feels good in a sense.
It does.
I'd rather say no than like, oh, I got to go do this. And the worst thing you do is just say yes and mean no.
Yeah. And I was doing that for a lot of stuff. And now I just don't, I'm just like, no, I'm not going to do it. I always look at how is it benefiting me also too. So but the self-love, I said, I wait until I'm 50, get an AAP card, then I'm start doing all this new journey in my life. But better late than never, as they say.
Right. Yeah. And then I realized, like, with self-love, and you start to, it's like the further you get from your old self, you realize, dang, I was passive in the past.
Yep.
And that was me. I'm like, I really let that slide. I'm like, nah, I ain't doing that no more.
Yep.
He's like, I ain't doing that. Yeah. Yeah. And it's like you set a standard of how people treat you. And that goes for everybody.
Yep.
Yeah. That's definitely a key factor for our self-love and just learning to say no, learning to be like, you know what? I realize my self-worth.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and that goes to my next question. This is on top of the head. With self-love and mental health, some people don't know their worth. That means they accept the wrong thing, the wrong relationships, they get into the wrong crowds. We say that person who don't realize their self-worth.
Well, that's a journey too. You have to get around like-minded people. who
Yes.
are going to lift you up. And we all know that's a journey. You know, as a kid, sometimes you hang out with the wrong crowd. You know, I've seen adults who hang out with the wrong crowd. And I come to realize sometimes we're missing something. You know, we didn't get something, so we kind of latch on to those type of individuals. But for me, once I really found out who I was in my friends, and I'm not using that word friends like in the loose sense. I'm talking about my core friends who were really there for me, who call and check on me, who just want to talk. You know, don't want anything, just want to laugh, talk. That's when my self-love for myself really began to spark. Like, okay, this is what a true friendship is like. And I always tell people, you know, and this sounds bad, but I always tell people, you can pick your friends, you can't pick your family. And reason why I say that is most of my friends know me better than my family does.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is because your friends, I think your family raises you or they just see you from here, you know, but they don't really understand the sense of what's going on with you when your friends do.
I
You
agree.
know? Yeah. So my true friends have become closer to me than a lot of my family members. And I can honestly say I'm okay with that. You know, I thought it would be an issue for me, but it really isn't. And I'm okay because I go back to, and I've heard people say, you pick your friends, you just don't pick your family.
Wow, that's deep.
You know, it is.
Yeah.
You know, so that's part of my self-love and self-worth too from my friends. And, you know, and I've shared this with people because I didn't come from a house where I was nurtured. I didn't want for anything, but I wanted for love. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Materialistic, I got. You know, if I wanted the shoes, if I wanted the clothes, you know, if I wanted to go hang out, I got that. But I turned towards the street to get the love. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So realizing that, you know, something is missing in this equation somewhere, you know, and turning to the streets for me wasn't I'm out gang banging or drinking. And well, I did just do some drinking, but I was young at the time. But I wasn't destructive, but I was mentally destructive.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually deep with the mental destructing because you can like feed yourself negative thoughts and hang around the wrong crowd, and that can do a lot of mental damage towards yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I can definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
And speaking, when you say about the family and friends thing, that's deep. That made me think like really just now, like how you realize like I got people in my circle who are closer than my actual family. A lot of times you work on certain things. Oh, I didn't know you were doing this. Oh, I didn't know you doing this. And I'm like, you don't know me. It's like they know you from child to young adult to a teenager, whatever the case may be. But as soon as you branch out and do this, they're the last ones to support you.
Yep.
They're the last ones to support you. They're like, oh, you're in the magazine. That's cool. But as soon as you get bigger, they're like, oh, that's my nephew. That's my brother.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know, but real talk, I'm okay with that.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? I am. I mean, it is what it is. It just goes back to, and it sounds bad, but I have always had to say it. You know, if I really had to pick you as a family member, would I have done that? You know?
Yeah.
That's what it goes back to that whole saying. So I don't get mad anymore. I don't. If you see something, you see something. If you don't, you don't. I'm not looking for you. You know, but if you're looking for me, that's fine. And I don't get into it because I always realize people are people regardless.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you are family, foe, or friend, and you are causing issues with my mental illness, I will let you go.
Facts.
Yeah. Facts. Yeah, I will let you go. Just because we have the blood running through our system, don't mean I'm going to be dealing with the nonsense and you causing me mental distress. I'm not doing that. You know, if I'm not going to do it with a stranger, I'm not going to do it with you. So that's how it. And I've gotten to the point where I am okay. It was hard for me in the beginning, but now I'm just like, I'm at peace. And until you get yourself together, We will never, I will love you because the Bible says I have to love you per se.
Yeah.
And it's the right thing to do, but don't mean I have to deal with you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's, friends as well. It goes back to that reason, season, lifetime situation when people come into your life.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I definitely agree. It's definitely the same thing with family. I had to have a difficult conversation with a family member.
Mm-hmm.
I had to tell them how I felt. It wasn't easy, but
Right.
it was more of, I'm telling you how I feel, and if you don't accept it, I'm okay.
Right.
I can love you from a distance.
Right. But you get that weight off of you.
Yes, that felt so good. I did it yesterday.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Yeah, I did it yesterday, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it was my dad, to be honest with you. And
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother story.
that's a
me.
whole,
That's
a whole different.
Yeah, it's weird that you say that your father. I have a father. I have a stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
People who know me know that. So it's not like I'm sharing something like, oh my God, breaking news.
Mm-hmm.
My stepfather raised me. My real father wasn't. He was around, but I didn't meet my real father until I was 18 or 19.
Okay.
Let's just be real with that. People knew who he was, but the only person who didn't know who he was me.
Oh.
So you can always understand. I'm angry as a child.
Yeah.
Like, who is my father? Where he's about? Anyway, I mean, he has his own issues. There were siblings that didn't know that there were other siblings. I didn't meet my other brothers and sisters until I was 32 years old. Some of them didn't meet others until they were 30. That's a whole another issue. So recently, we found out that there was another sibling. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them are kumbaya. Some of them are like, it is what it is. We know he has another kid out there, yada, yada, yada. I said, this is the reason why I'm seeking therapy now, because of this type of nonsense.
Yeah.
So my brother said, well, what does he have to do with your therapy? And I said, bro, are you real?
Yeah.
I said, this man wasn't around. And then all of a sudden, when he gets around, he wants me to call him dad. I said, no.
Yeah.
I said, he made me who I am. The distrust, the anger, even though I had a male role model in the house,
mm-hmm.
he wasn't in the house and I didn't know. And I said, family kept that a secret from me until I was 19 years of age.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if I didn't inquire, they would have taken it to the grave. I said, mentally, as a young Black boy, you don't understand what abandonment does for us. I said, those were some of my issues that I suppressed for so long, hence why some of my relationships didn't work out or some other things in my life didn't work out, because I was still dealing with if you get too close to me, I'm going to push you away because I know you're going to leave anyway. I said, mentally, I didn't know that was destroying me until I realized what was going on. I said, yeah, I said, I'm in therapy. I said, granted, he's not he's a part of my therapy because I have to talk about it,
mm-hmm.
and I don't mind talking about it. But I said, but I'm able to talk about it now. So when I see Black men who are dealing with this type of situation, I'm like, bro, it's an issue that a lot of Black men have,
mm-hmm.
and we carry it for years and years and years. I said, one thing I had to do was I had to forgive him.
Yeah.
But even with the forgiving him, I still had to go to therapy to release it. And I'm fine.
Yeah.
Even though he is who he is, and I don't want any harm, but I always say to my siblings, it's up to him to form a relationship because he abandoned me. Yeah. I didn't abandon him. And I'm open to it. I just would never call him dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a difference because like I'm okay with it, but I don't need you in a sense.
Right.
And I had to forgive my father when I was like 25. We're okay now because we got a relationship, even with the understanding and everything. But I realized, like you just said, a part of my relationships in the past that didn't work out was because of that. Didn't know how to show love, didn't know how to show affection. So when you get close to me, I gotta like protect myself.
Yep.
And I gotta like always have a shield up. I'm like, I might get hurt by this woman. I can't trust her fully.
Yep.
So it's a lot of things like I really had a fall on my head several times saying, son, this is how you talk to a female. Son, this is how you do this. Son, this is how you do, how you maneuver.
Yep, exactly. I get it, bro.
Yeah, and for me, getting married next year and having a fiance, I have no example of what a husband looks like in my family.
Wow.
And the fact that she's happy is like, wow.
Well, she's happy because you're doing the work.
Yes.
Yeah, and sometimes y'all do the work together. So that makes and she, doing the work, but also you having that support system.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, going through this journey, you have to have some type of support system.
Agreed.
And one of my homeboys, his support system was alcohol. And I'm like, bro, that's not a support system.
It's not.
That is not. It makes the situation even worse.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta have somebody that you can just cry and just let your hair down and just get it out. You have to, And he's like, well, I don't trust this and this and this. And I say, because you don't trust yourself.
Yeah. Wow, that's deep.
Yeah. Oh, see, no, I've been doing this mental health thing for a year now, so I kind of get it now.
Mm-hmm.
But before, I was like, man, this is rough. And before we even start doing this, we had to let our own demons out.
Yeah.
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 And I tell people, you gotta be vulnerable. If you're not going to be vulnerable, it's never going to work. I don't care what the next man says because he's dealing with his own BS too.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying? So me being vulnerable, and you can't be vulnerable to everybody, but this is a platform where everybody sees it, and I'm okay. As long as I am helping you,
mm-hmm.
it is all worth it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And it's like prime example of being a vulnerable relationship. When we first got together, I had my aunt pass away and grandma passed away. So I'm really emotional wreck.
Right.
And I promised myself I would never cry in front of a female. Because the last time my dad got hurt by that.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to FaceTime. And I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? I said, she's gone. She's gone. She goes, look at me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to show emotion. She goes, look at me. He said, you're fine. It's okay to let it out. When, like you said, support system and having that, like, damn, it's okay to be me. And that's the first time I heard that other than my mother.
Yeah.
So imagine that man feeling the same way,
Yeah. I get it. I get it. When you have that support system, it changes the whole way you look at stuff.
Yes.
It really does. Like I tell people now, if someone calls you, call them back because you never know what they may be going through. Yeah, and some people don't get that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm not gonna call them back. Oh, no, you never know. Sometimes they may not want anything. Sometimes they may just be calling to check on you. That's why with me, and some people notice that they don't. I'm not always big on texting. Sometimes I just want to hear your voice just to make sure.
Yeah, you do call. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that you're okay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I do that with people that I genuinely care about. Please let me hear their voice. Just to make sure that everything is okay. But that's me. I'm not saying everybody else should do it, but that's who I am.
But that's a good quality. That's one thing that I noticed when we first started going back and forth. Hey, bro, checking on you. I said, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To have a friend like, hey, just checking on you. You never know what the other person's going through on the phone. You might be need that meal talk or that laugh or something to take your mind off of it. Just to have that circle to going to tell you the truth.
Yep, it is.
Judging you. Man, it's definitely a key factor. This was a great this was a great interview. Great.
Thank you, man. It was
great. I definitely can't wait for audience to see this. I feel like a lot of people are going to learn from it. Learn what you're saying. I always ask my guests last question, like, what motivates you to get up in the morning? What's your motivation?
Waking up in the morning and not want to be dead.
Wow. Powerful. Yeah.
Yep. That's what my motivation is. Waking up in the morning and not wanting to be dead. It's the first time I'm actually sharing this with somebody too.
Wow. That's actually powerful. Because we both have been there and felt like, you know what? Today might be the day. Or that person listening probably feel like that.
Yeah.
So imagine that person listening like, damn, I need to flip my mindset into that.
Yep.
So if you listen to this podcast or whoever you are and you feel like life is not worth it, you feel like giving up, remind yourself that you are worth it. No matter what the setback is, break up, anything like that, you are worth it.
Yeah. It's we're even talking about that. Talking to one of my female friends yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
She was going through it over a friend. Her and this guy were close.
Okay.
And I'm not talking in a sexual way, like best friend close.
Okay.
And she said, I'm just upset he just stopped speaking to me, out of nowhere. So I started diving into it a little bit more. Here I am, an undiagnosed or undegreed therapist, diving into the situation more. And I said, well, what's going on? Well, I've seen him throw away people at the sight of water. You know what I'm saying? So I said, well, that's who he is. I said, but believe you me, he's not upset with you. Whatever he's going through has nothing to do with you.
Agreed.
And she was like, what do you mean? I said, it's something within inside of him that he needs to work with. She said, I don't get it. I said, I do. I said, I used to be like that.
Me too.
I used to just throw you away just because the sky was blue. You didn't do anything, or you were getting too close to me, and I didn't really want you to know who I was.
Like that protection you're trying to.
Yeah. And I said, so I kept saying, it's not you, it's him. And I said, now, if he does value you as a true friend, he will be back later on.
Yeah.
I said, but right now, he has to work it out for him. But when I tell you, Craig, she was so distraught yesterday. I was like, it's not you.
Yeah.
And this other guy, and it must have been a male thing. This other guy was like, I was the same way.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. Yeah, so we got to do better as men communicating.
I agree. And he's probably like, I can't come to run my problems because I need to. And sometimes it's hard to admit that.
Yeah, so let me ask you a question. I'm gonna throw it back on you real quick.
Go ahead.
If you know one of your homeboys is dealing with something, or these subliminal messages that we get, how do you handle that? And the reason why I'm asking you, when I get certain messages now, somebody like you and I, you post something on IG, somebody will send it right back to me and put a message under it. Like I'm like, okay, I know what I said, or they'll say something, yo, bro, thanks for doing this, and I'll be like, well, what's going on? I'm all right. No, you're not.
Yeah.
But I've got to the point, and I don't know if this is good or bad. I don't feel like diving into it anymore because that means I have to force you to talk.
Yeah.
And I don't want to force you to have to do it. I mean, how do you handle that? That's my question for you.
That's a good question. That actually happened. I posted something on IG or something about like recovering through depression, something like that. I don't remember what exact post it was.
Right.
And the guy was like, "Thank you for posting it." And I was like, "Why did he say that?" And I was like, I remember responding back, "Hey, hope you're all good." And I kind of leave like a little nugget. In case you need to talk, I'm here. And try to, sometimes the guy might not accept it the first time.
Right.
After that, it came back as, man, I got a story to tell. And I end up interviewing on my podcast for season 1. I'm going to send the link so you can see who it is and everything.
Okay.
And we actually developed a friendship after that.
Okay.
So a lot of times, like I see somebody in my family post something negative, but like, "Hey, bro, you okay?" You be like, "Yeah, I'm good. And then you post something like, "Man, I don't feel like being here." So I would just continue to keep trying to throw that out there. I'm here for you. You know what I'm saying? Because he can see it. He can see the message, or he can see the text, or whatever. Right. At some point, and also I pray about it too.
Okay.
I pray about the individual. Pray with him such about this problem. Maybe if I don't reach him, maybe his friend might reach him. Always, whoever. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
I would say just don't reach out for him and pray for him. But if you don't respond, like, okay, I did my part. The rest of you do.
And that's the attitude that I have now. I always take it back to, I don't want nobody prying and pushing me, but I really want somebody to push me to kind of open up. But that takes a lot of energy.
It does.
It takes a lot of energy. And for me, real talk, I don't do it as much because the story. I had a friend commit suicide. Yeah. And I was the last person to speak to him. And I was always on that call 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And for me, I don't ever want to have to go through that type of situation again. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
But now, I know the resources
Yeah.
for you. Before I didn't know resources.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know the resources.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's either up to that person to use those resources, and sometimes you have to go through extreme measures, you know, and call other people and get other people involved. And I don't want to do that because you don't want to get everybody into business, but also when it comes to a life or death situation, I'm getting everybody
Agreed.
involved. And on the last situation, I didn't do that because I thought that I knew that they weren't okay, but I thought that they were okay that day.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
maybe I can call him tomorrow or something, and it's never your fault for anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And sometimes the other person may be like, it goes back to that male prideful thing. It goes back to that, unfortunately. Are you okay? And you're crying on the phone before I even talk to you.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's the hard part. I'm still trying to figure out how to find a way for males to open up. I'm still trying to create new ideas, and that it's not easy.
And that's not easy. I mean, we're getting better.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, but I think we can do much better.
Mm-hmm.
We are definitely getting better, but we can do a whole lot better than what we have been doing. And I think it's going to be a slow race,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's a race that we can actually win.
Mm-hmm.
We just have to continue with the platform and just make guys comfortable. But more importantly, we have to make guys comfortable, especially those who are raising young children, because we do not want to keep that generational curse going on and on and on. But for me, politically, I think mental health should be part of therapy in school. But hey,
you know what? It's funny because I was saying it the other day. We're taught math, we're taught reading, we're taught writing, but we're not taught how to navigate life.
Nope, we're not.
Not taught that. So
Nope.
Imagine you were 18, get out of high school, you know what goals you have, and you're scared. I've been there. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you said that because one of my talks with one of the football players, he's going to talk about.
Wow.
Yeah, the story of his struggle with mental health being an NFL player. Yeah, and it didn't start in the NFL. It started as a kid, but the NFL actually kind of opened it up even more because he didn't know how to navigate.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's real crazy.
I can't wait to hear that. Now I realize one thing too is like for us, what we're doing and being vulnerable, that's also a key. Like telling your story, those uncomfortable details you had to go through, and like this happened when I was 8, and this happened when I was 14, and a person's going through the exact same thing.
Yeah, but you know this to be true. You realize that you're not out there by yourself because a lot of other people are dealing with either what you've dealt with, something similar, or something even worse. They're just waiting for that door to open.
Yeah.
To step in so they can share their story. So I'm all right. I just opened up the door. So come on in and let's just work this out. And like I said, some guys are really ready. And some guys are. I'm scared. I'm like, bro, I get it. I've been there, but I'm not going backwards.
I feel you. And you be like, you know what? I'm not going to judge you. And that's one thing too.
Yeah. So I tell people I am not going, it's a safe space, but, when we were doing the thing before, just the DMs I would get from people just sharing their stories, like, wow, I'm not out here by myself. No.
Yeah.
No.
You're not.
No.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. Like sometimes you think that I know Winker went through. He's like, there's nobody going through what I'm going through.
That's a lie.
Yeah, and that's a lie. We're learning that.
Lie.
That's a lie. It may be somebody worse what you're going through. What I'm saying?
I found that out. That I'm like, dang, my situation ain't as bad as I thought it was.
Yeah, especially doing these interviews. I'm like, dang, somebody got it worse than me.
Yeah, and I told you when I was doing those interviews last year, there was 2 people that knew. Now I'm telling you, now I'm telling the world that either coming up with the questions was a process for me.
Yeah.
I would sit and be like, oh my God, I don't know. Is this about to open up Pandora's, or is this sending me back? And there was one that I was doing. It was the Angry Boys and Angry Men.
Yeah.
Man, that was so hard for me to do, and everybody loved it. But I was just like, when I was done, I was just like, I was just drained,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And that's why I was like, I ain't doing nothing for another 2 weeks because I needed to mentally get my. And some people understood that, like, how do you do that? And I said, God dang it, I need to go to therapy, you know. And that's when I started. Isn't that crazy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realized that too, because after I done season one, I was like, I need to take a break.
Yep.
Because every episode I got right down my question, I'm like, this is the kind of trigger for me.
Yep.
I remember feeling this way. Even the question things, I'm like, man, I remember like feeling like that.
Yeah. Even when I looked at your question, I thought,
Yeah.
but I was, I was okay. I was okay with it. I was, oh, okay. Yeah. It made me think.
Yeah.
I was supposed to look at them in the beginning. Then I said, okay, it made me think. But it was good, and I didn't share it with anybody. You know, sometimes I would share questions. This time I said, "All right, okay, I got this. Just talk." You know, so it wasn't bad because remember, I'm used to interviewing somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm used to interviewing, but this was actually good. I didn't mind doing this because it's helping somebody, you know, and it helps me. Well, you know, but it's helping Black men, Black children. I'm not even going to say Black men. Let's start with our kids.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure you watch the news and they talk about how kids are now suffering with mental health because of this pandemic and everything else. And my response is, so you put this on the news, so then what are you doing? Back to the school. You understand what I'm saying? So you say it, but what are we doing?
Yeah.
You know, and we're not doing anything. And I said, do we put the ownership on the parents? But if the parents are struggling too, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Because I work in the school system. I do security in school. So a lot of the kids will see me or see another black male. I look at him as a father figure or a brother figure. So when they go to school, that's their escape.
Right.
From maybe a rough childhood or a rough home life. And imagine we ain't seen the kids in almost a year.
Yep.
So imagine when they go back, we got to reprogram. A lot of kids, I miss seeing, you know, saying that connection.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, so I think it has to be a bond between the parents and the school system and the news that's supporting this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Don't say the kids going through this. Okay, I agree. Like, what are y'all doing about that?
Yeah. I mean, the news publicizes all the time. I'm like, but what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
You're talking about it, but what are y'all doing?
Yeah.
And as I can see, they're not doing anything.
Agreed.
You know?
Yeah.
Which again, it continues that, you know, curse keeps going on and on and on. And I'm like, we gotta, you know, if you want to talk about it, do something.
That's why I don't watch the news, because a news can be a lot on your mental health exactly right now.
Yeah, it can.
COVID, people dying off the vaccine, people dying off this and dying off that. I'm like, I can't. Too much. Too much.
I got you, but yeah, I got to figure out what's going on. You know, what live somebody has to tell me today. You know?
I try to find a way to watch the news in a comedic filter, like a little comedy sketch, and they talk about the news. That way I can laugh a little bit,
right,
and really know what's going on, instead of being like, this person dying, that person dying. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, especially when this first started happening, you walking around with masks and everything, like, this is crazy.
Yeah, well, now they want you to walk around with 2 masks.
I know. Now I get a vaccine. I'm like,
I'm like, real talk. I don't think no one knows. I really don't. You know, we're just the guinea pigs. No, nobody knows. So it just is what it is. You know,
it is what it is.
I'm gonna live my life.
Yeah, I take the COVID test every week in my job.
Oh, for real?
Every week.
Okay.
It's like, Jesus.
Okay.
But I really appreciate this interview. This is a great kickoff start to season 2. Feel free to tell the audience where to find you as far as your social media and what you got on coming up and currently.
Social media is Saving Our Kings, and it's SAVR Kings on Instagram. And the reason why you haven't seen a lot of stuff me doing on Instagram, because I am rebranding with a whole different type of branding team this time. It is going to be done in a whole way that it should be done. You know what I'm saying. So that's why. But there's a lot of big things happening in 2000 and what 21. I'm like, what year are we in? 2021. It's going to require, not require. It's going to. I'm going to ask support for a lot of people. I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of good people on this journey, and they're now deciding to take this to a whole nother level with the whole rebranding piece.
Yeah.
So this time, my interviews, and I can share who they are. One is Kevin Bersia. Kevin Bersia actually tried to commit suicide by jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he was featured on Jada Pinkett Smith's Red Table Talk.
Okay.
Yeah, I reached out to him, and he is so ready.
Wow. Okay.
Another person is Juan Dixon.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody knows anything about basketball, he played for Maryland.
Thinking that, yeah.
Or I'll do this for the females. He is the husband of Robin Dixon on the Housewives of Potomac.
Okay.
Okay, but he's now the head coach of Coppin State basketball
Okay.
team. He wants to talk about his journey. Another one is Brandon Cole. Brandon Cole played for the New Orleans Saints.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to talk about his journey. Him and I kind of talk a lot. His journey in and out of NFL, what he's doing now. In the last, well, I'm not going to say the last one. After Brandon Cole is Chris Hubbard. Chris Hubbard plays currently for Cleveland Browns.
Mm-hmm.
His story is kind of crazy. We laugh and joke and have a lot of similarities. And after we go from there, we're going to do the whole barbershop conversation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think we're trying to figure out if we want to do it live or we want to do it pre-recorded, because that's going to require a lot of people. But it has to be men, as you know, who will speak versus sitting in a chair. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's what's actually coming up now. So you will see us. We will be launching all this March of 2021. But it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of great work. So, make sure you support my boy right here. He's doing fabulous work, but support anybody who's talking about mental health.
Great.
I'm not just gonna say me and Craig, but anybody who's talking about mental health and they have a story, make sure you go out and really support them. But more importantly, if you need that help, go get it.
Yes, you need help, go get it.
Go
get listening. Thank you for listening to this podcast. Walking Purpose podcast on every Sunday on all major platforms. You also get a YouTube version. You get to see our faces. We're actually laughing and joking through the podcast. It's not always serious. So definitely,
you gotta laugh. You
gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. Thank you so much, everybody.